Welcome to all our St. John Paul II parishioners and to all the guests who have joined us in watching this video reflection. I'm happy that our public masses will resume this weekend, June 13th and 14th. And I ask that everyone review the guidelines published on our webpage and Facebook before coming to Mass. I also want to ask for your patience and cooperation as we figure this out together. For this week's reflection, I want to talk about something I mentioned in my homily for the English live stream Mass last weekend. That is prejudice. I quoted one of my seminary professors who repeated to us many times that the most prejudiced person is the one who claims, "I'm not prejudiced." We are all prejudiced, because prejudice is based in our perspective of events, and each of us has a unique perspective. We perceive events differently than others. It is true that you see things differently based on your physical location. Someone watching a magician from the audience perceives things very differently than someone watching from backstage. This difference in perception happens subtly in normal life. Our perspective is affected not only by our physical location, but by what we expect to see and what we have been led to believe. Our preconceived ideas and expectations, our prejudices, affect our perception. Also, our perceptions affect our prejudices. This can be a bit like a snowball rolling down a hill. We learn our prejudices very subtly from our culture and from our unique experiences. That is why two people can experience the same event and perceive things very differently. I want to share a story with you of how I came to understand prejudice and how it affects my own perceptions of events. Father Brian Massingale and I have been friends since high school days. He was 1 year ahead of me, both through Pius XI High School and through St. Francis Seminary. Father Brian is one of the brightest people I know. I was an excellent student in my school days, but Brian was always far beyond me. In the seminary, Brian lived in the same dorm, and although we were a year apart, many times we were in the same classes due to the way courses were scheduled. I always saw Brian as the favorite of the faculty because of his great intelligence. Things appeared to come easily to him, and it seemed to me that at times everyone just expected Brian to get the top grade in the class. Many years after I was ordained, I had the chance to take a sabbatical at Catholic Theological Institute in Chicago. And during this period of study, we had many speakers who came to address that sabbatical group. Brian was one of those speakers who came to address us about the Black Catholic experience. That day was eye-opening for me. I was proud to be personal friends with one of the speakers, but as Brian spoke, there were stories which he told that did not match my experience. He talked about how difficult seminary was for him and how he felt the pressure to excel just because he was Black. After the morning class, Brian and I had lunch together, and over that meal, we talked about our different perceptions of things. He discussed how he felt the need to overachieve just to prove himself. Where I thought professors often gave him top grades because he was Brian, the bright one, he felt he had to work hard, doubly hard, in order to prove himself. He felt that the standard for him was set higher, and even after having proved himself academically, There were those faculty who questioned whether he'd be successful just because he was black. Would people accept him? Would his intelligence and education distance him from the average black person? That is a blatantly prejudiced comment. He had fought a struggle through all those years in the seminary that I had not even noticed. We had different perceptions of the situation, partly because of my own prejudice. I had thought Brian had it easy because he was the favored one and he was so bright. The opposite was true. He had to work harder and live up to expectations I never dreamt of. He said he felt that if he did an average job on a paper or in one of the courses, there were those who would say, "I told you so." And yet when he excelled, others claimed he wasn't typical. Father Brian has been successful, and I am glad to still call him a friend, even if our paths have diverged over time. He has gone on to become a professor at Fordham University and a national speaker. But that day during my sabbatical is the best lesson I have learned from him. Realizing we lived in the same dorm, attended the same classes, and ate at the same table, and yet our perceptions were so different, was redefining for me. I understand now that I must always examine my own preconceptions and prejudices. They will always be there. But God's grace can help me strive to perceive things as the other person does. In these days of COVID-19 and the Black Lives Matter demonstrations, we all need to do some soul searching. Each of us has our unique perspectives, but that means each of us has our own prejudices as well. Our nation is learning now how subtle prejudices can build into cultural stereotypes that play out in horrible tragedies. Black lives matter. White lives matter. Hispanic lives matter. All lives matter, because all lives are a gift from God. There is only one who is not prejudiced, and that is the one who sees only with love, and that is God. God perceives us only with love. The rest of us fall far short of that perspective. Please pray for justice and peace in our nation and our world. And begin by praying that prejudice be removed from your own heart by God's grace. One final recommendation. Father Brian has written an excellent article in the June 1st, 2020 National Catholic Reporter online edition. I recommend everyone read it if possible. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and know that we are truly blessed. I remain your pastor, Father Mike.